It's turned into a high-stakes battle featuring Chicago's major sports teams, Mayor Lightfoot, and a potential Chicago casino operator. City Council tabled a plan to allow in-stadium sports gambling and charge a 2% tax after heated debate, and they'll take it up again next week. And joining us to discuss the sports betting situation are Mara Georges, an attorney at Georges and Sinowecki, representing United Center and Wrigley Field Holdings, and Suzanne Leckard, a managing partner at Convergence Strategy Group, representing Neil Bloom, the head of Rush Street Gaming, which has two bids out there for the potential Chicago casino. Mara Georges, I'll start with you. Opponents of in-stadium sportsbook betting say that it will eat away at potential revenues of the yet-to-be-built Chicago casino. Is that true?
That is absolutely not true, Paris. Even the city's independent study has demonstrated that casino revenues sportsbook have no impact on casino revenues. Even if you were to say sportsbook comprises 1 to 2% of casino revenues, that is a negligible amount that really it has minimal impact on the overall revenues of a casino.
And Suzanne, you're representing Rush Street Gaming, which, as we said, has two bids out there for the potential Chicago casino. If this ordinance allowing the sports book at stadiums passes, how will this impact a future Rush Street Gaming Chicago casino?
Well, first off, I want to say, I have not been afforded the chance to review this union gaming study. I would love to get my hands on a copy of it and see it. But, to that point, sportsbook revenues make up about 1% to casino revenues. However, that does not take into account the bump on the casino floor from those sports bettors that are brought in. So I first want to make that point. But our study, where we looked at the impact of sports books on brick and mortar casinos across the country, it shows that the hit to a casino in Chicago should be about 8.6% of gaming revenues. That's slot and table revenues, because you're not bringing in a particular demographic, that younger demographic that the sports books are attracting.
So various
and
studies. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Paris, that study is based on, though, flawed assumptions, because that study did not take into account the fact that those people who are in sports books within the sports venue will be spending money at the sports venue, will be spending money throughout the city. Even if they don't go to a casino and spend their money at a casino, they will be spending money at operations that generate tax revenue for the city. And this is really about generating that tax revenue for the city and the economic impact, the positive economic impact and jobs that sportsbook in these sports venues will have for the city of Chicago.
All right, so there's disagreement here on some of these statistics or how these conclusions were drawn at. Suzanne Leckard, if Mr. Bloom, Neil Bloom, the head of Rush Street Gaming, isn't worried about online sports gambling, because let's remember, online sports gambling is happening, and that makes up the majority of the sports betting that happens to this point. If he's not concerned about that, why is he concerned about in-person sports gambling?
Well, so a little bit about the casino gaming industry. The casino gaming industry for the last 10 years has been looking at different ways of bringing in a younger demographic. Your typical casino gamer is a middle-aged woman, and casino gaming hasn't been attractive to the younger demographic. Sports betting has been the most promising development in bricks and mortar casinos in the U.S., bar none. That's why there's been so much excitement about it. And what we've seen across the country is every single jurisdiction that has added sports betting to bricks and mortar facilities, they have seen significant increases in casino gaming revenues. Those slot and table revenues have gone up dramatically.
So it's an important prong here for the potential casino. Mara Georges, I want to pose that question to you. If the vast majority of this is done online, what makes sports owners believe that they can make any kind of a dent if they build sports books in the stadium?
This is about improving the fan experience. You're talking about our Chicago, our hometown sports teams that care about Chicago, care about their fans, and want to provide their fans with the best experience possible. I can tell you, my 90-year-old aunt will go to a Cubs game, and while she's at a Cubs game, she's likely to place a bet on a Cubs game. She is not going to go to a casino and bet any money at the casino. This is about generating revenue based on activity that was authorized by Governor Pritzker and the General Assembly with an overwhelming support by the Black Caucus back in 2019, 2.5 years ago. This is activity that is happening across the state, just not in Chicago. So Chicago's not taking advantage of the economic development, the tax generation, the job creation that Sportsbook provides.
So what you're saying, different demographics here will go into the casino or go online to a sportsbook or go to an in-person sportsbook. Suzanne, as we mentioned, Neil Bloom, Rush Street Gaming, they have 2 of the 5 bids out there to get this Chicago casino. Might they pull out if the city council passes the ordinance to allow sportsbooks and to tax it at 2%?
Well, I can't say whether or not my client would pull out. However, when we crunch the numbers, this potential loss in revenues makes a really tight proposition even tighter, and it could make a Chicago license unviable.
And you're mentioning that on top of the taxes that the city has to pay.
I dispute that, Paris. The city's independent study has shown that sportsbook revenues only make up at the most 1% of casino revenues. As I said, the study cited here is a flawed study. It's a biased study. Even Bally's, who is one of the casino bidders, has put out a written statement saying they have no objection to the ordinance. It's funny how the only person that has an objection to allowing sports books at sports venues in the city of Chicago is a person who has a sports book in the suburbs.
All right, I don't want to get into the various studies here because there's different studies. Some folks have seen certain studies, some folks haven't. Suzanne Lenker, what about that? The fact that Bally's and some of these other potential operators don't see this as the same problem?
I can't speak for Bally's as to what analyses they have done or have not done, or what position they're trying to put themselves in to win the license. So I can't speak to.
All right, and I want to go to the mayor's shifting position, because in 2019, the mayor opposed the idea of sports betting. She said, quote, "I oppose the inclusion of a provision that would open up sports wagering in venues like Soldier Field. Such a proposal has the potential to undermine the viability of any Chicago-based casino through the diversion of customers and revenue from a casino." But now the mayor is in full support of this. Mara Georges, what changed the mayor's mind, do you think?
Her own independent study. You've got Grant Grosvenor, who's testified twice before a joint committee. He has provided a slide deck to the joint committee. He has testified, he is from CBRE, formerly Union Gaming, and he has testified that there is no cannibalization here if sports books were allowed to open in sports venues. There is no impact on the viability of a Chicago casino if this ordinance passes.
All right. And we only have a few seconds. Suzanne Leckert, I want to give you the final word here. What about you? The mayor had your position basically before. Now she's done a complete 180. What do you think that's about?
Well, without seeing this Union Gaming study, I cannot say for sure. But I can say that every single market that we've looked at, we've seen that sports books have given a bump to the casino floor. And anybody that's saying otherwise is, I would love to see what they're looking at, because that's not what the data bears out. And that's not what we believe, in our professional opinion, in my 15 years of the gaming industry. That's not what we think.
And there's lobbying on this as we're speaking, I understand, and there will be a likely hearing next Monday, and perhaps they vote again next Monday. So to be continued. And our thanks to Mara Georges and Suzanne Leckert. Thank you so much.
Thank you.